You're listening to Underworld on the Ghost Radio Network.
Ghost Radio Australia.
Listen.
Mountains. The unexplained. Synchronicity. EVP.
So why are you?
I heard that.
Absolutely fascinating.
What are Min lights? Is it real? What do you think?
I love you.
The unseen.
I'm alright.
1111. Who or what are mutilating cattle?
Listen.
Poltergeists. Your stories. Your experiences. Listen close.
Scott Alexander King is an author, presenter, and a man imbued with animal wisdom. He says the earth is our mother and we are her children. He's an absolute Ghost Radio favourite, and he's back again with us tonight. Welcome back, Scott.
Thanks, Leah.
It's so nice to have you back again. I've got to tell everybody that I have met Scott several times, and I was so pleased to find that he is just as nice as everybody probably thinks he is.
Thanks, so are you.
Now, look, you're about 10 days, a week away from doing your 3-day certified course in animal dreaming at the Taronga Park Zoo. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm very, very excited because this is like basically the pinnacle, I guess you can say. This is what I've been working toward, this course, because what this course to me represents is it's the presentation of everything that I believe in and my philosophy and my years of preparation. This is it going out into the world for the first time. What we're going to be doing is talking about the fact that the animals are the voice of Mother Earth. We're going to be talking about how the animals are all, imbued with that sacred message that I talk about, and I'm going to be this is basically an invitation for all the people who are participating to see themselves as, in inverted commas, qualified to take the message out there. I'm very excited because these people are going to go out there as like ambassadors for animal dreaming after this course. That's why it means so much to me. So we're going to be, it's going to be split up into like themes, I suppose you could say.
Mm-hmm.
The third day, I'll talk about that first. I'm going to be talking about the kids and the connection that we all have with our kids, and the connection that's been forgotten, because I see all the work that I'm doing as being primarily, for the kids, because, those who know my work would understand that everything that animal dreaming represents is about saving the planet, or bringing the people back to a place of unity and reconnection with the planet. And why else would I be doing it except for the kids? Mm. So day 3 is all about the kids and how we can reconnect with our kids, remember who they are, look at their strengths and their weaknesses. Of course, everything comes back to animals with me, so we'll be talking about the 5 monkeys that represent the 5 different sorts of kids, or 5 different sorts of people, actually, that exist on this planet. They're based on their personality and their elemental influence and their character and all those sorts of things. Mm. We're going to have, for that, we've got a man who has supported me in the writing of my book called Kids. He's a doctor and a naturopath and a homeopath and a Chinese medicine man. He's trained in Ayurvedic tradition. He's a colour therapist. He's also medically trained, so he specialises in cancer and AIDS research. Mm-hmm. So he's an amazing guy, and he's written a book with me offering profiles on each of these different kids. Mm-hmm. And I'll also have on that day with me a man called Brian Dale, who's going to be talking about children's archetypes, and which are very, very, it's along the same line as my monkeys, basically.
Yeah.
So he'll be talking about their strengths and their weaknesses, the different sorts of kids, how you can tap into those strengths and weaknesses and support the kids through growth and development and bring out their very, very best. And he'll also be talking about drama and getting the kids involved in, role playing and dramatic, I suppose you call it therapy, but it's also, preparation for life on the stage, if you like, because he's a drama teacher.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a full-on day, and that's just the third day. The second day, we're going to have Lucy Cavendish will be our guest on that day. She's going to be talking about the magical fairy realm and the animals associated with the fairy realm, unicorns, dragons. So she's on for half an hour or 45 minutes. The first day we'll be talking about animal communication, and we'll be going out into the zoo, and we'll be with Billy Dean. He's the guest for the Friday. And we're going to be basically bringing messages back from the eagles and the owls, because we're going to be seeing the great bird flight display, which is going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They're all the guests. It's going to be hosted or emceed by Ronnie Burns.
Yes.
You know Ronnie Burns?
Through your webpage, I do, yeah.
Yeah, he's freaking brilliant. I should know if I can say freaking on Ghost Radio, but I just did. Twice. And he's going to be emceeing it for us. So he's going to be talking about his connection to the children too, because he has the Children's Foundation in Tassie there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and it's so they're the guests, but ultimately it's all about animal dreaming and the work. So we'll be, I'll be inviting people to talk about the animals they're afraid of, the animals that they love, the animals that they feel most connected to. We're talking about the white animals of prophecy, like the white buffalo calf that has been prophesized for thousands of years, and is now, we have 16 white buffalo calf in existence. We'll be talking about conservation. We'll be talking about the plight of the animals, and because of all the land clearing and the meat trade and all sorts of things. We'll be talking about what we can do to... Look, it's just going to be a full-on weekend.
It is, and I was...
talk for hours. It's just going to be the most empowering, insightful, exciting 3 days.
And pretty much everything you're passionate about.
Yep, I've wrapped it all up and I've packaged it up as a 3-day course. I mean, I can't imagine 3 more exciting days.
Exactly,
I'm
yeah.
quivering with excitement right now because, and I've got, when I do sit and talk about it with people, I have to fight back the tears. That's how excited I am, because this is it.
Well, I did the, as you know, the one-day workshop with you at the Perth Zoo, because the Perth people just love you, and and even that was like amazing. So I can just imagine, 3 days, and they're getting all soppy and what have you, people.
Yep.
You really are a terrific, awesome teacher. I kind of floated out of there, and many people said to me in the couple of weeks and what have you after that I looked like I'd had a healing and stuff. And
well, that's the whole point, Leah. It is, because the people will be coming, and thank you for that, because it confirms, it offers me great strength, because I know that's what I go into my seminars. That's my goal. Right, but people go into my seminars, and I've had them say this to me. So this is not me being Mr. Ego. This is what I've been told, and I've had great feedback from a lot of different people. They go into my seminars thinking it's going to be a workshop about animal communication or, one aspect of the work. They come out realising that they've remembered aspects of themselves that have been lost to them for generations. It's like they remember an ancient part of themselves, a connection to the earth and a relationship with everyone around them and everything around them. They come away feeling empowered, and that's the whole point. It's not that I'm teaching anything. I'm offering them...
You're kind of unlocking it, because, I'd have to say completely honest, I felt the same thing. I thought, it'll be like find your totem animal type stuff, which would have been fine if it was, and there was a little bit of that, but it was so much more,
Well, we are going to be doing aspects of that. We'll be doing a lot of intuitive work. I mean, I've got my cards out now, so we're teaching people how to, access the animals, via the cards or via intuitive, like meditations, journey work. We'll be accessing the elemental realms. We'll be accessing all sorts of things through those mediums. We will be approaching and dabbling very much into the intuitive side of the self. But this is also an emotional journey and not just a spiritual journey. It's also a physical journey, because a lot of the signs that I'm offering or teaching people to remember or helping people remember, accessing the signs, are very physical. It's a very physical thing. It's a tangible thing, which was why a lot of guys respond to it. We've got out of all the people that have booked in so far, I would say a third of them are guys. And that is unheard of in the industry, because it's
Isn't that fantastic, though?
It is brilliant. And it's very exciting. We've got kids coming too. We have got some kids coming. Because I can't say they can't come, because my kids are coming. So it's it's going to be. It is. It's a time of great remembering, and it appeals to everyone. Because let's face it. I mean, even if you're not an animal person, we all have a fondness for an animal. So it's something that everyone can relate to. It's not out there too much. Do you know what I mean? It is a tangible thing, and there's so many different ways of approaching the work. So it's great to hear you say that you came away feeling that way, because I always come away feeling like I'm buzzing, every time I do a seminar, and it's brilliant that you say that, because I sit and I think, well, I got a lot out of it. I hope everyone else did, because people do leave quite often in a very peaceful state. They don't bound up to me afterwards. They do leave in a relaxed, peaceful state, because they're reclaiming aspects of themselves that they had truly forgotten.
It was a very safe environment, and it wasn't, apart from the way I felt, I honestly had a couple of people say to me, like, oh, geez, you look good, what have you been doing? Or, and one person actually said, have you had some healing? And I said, well, I kind of think so. Like, I didn't lay down on bed and somebody kind of healed me, but this is what I did, and this is what I experienced. And, I think you probably don't remember, but when everybody was doing their power animal type things, or meet their totem animals type thing, of course, what did I met? I met a bloody yowie. And
of course I do remember that.
Everybody else is meeting butterflies, and I'm meeting yowies. But I felt so safe kind of expressing that, and it was terrific. It was awesome. It was really, really awesome. I absolutely recommend. Have you got any spaces left for this 3-day thingy?
There are some people. There are spaces left. I mean, the auditorium. We've probably about a third filled it, and I'm wrapped with that, because it's hard to explain, but Aussies are weird when it comes to supporting their own, if you like. If I was an American, it would be filled, but that's through my observations. But I tell you what, the support that I have received from this and the interest that's been expressed is phenomenal. I am absolutely stoked that there are that many people who are keen to be involved and keen to remember and keen to go away knowing that the animals that they're afraid of are keys to power, that being allergic to something is a good thing, that's why after next week, with the publicity and everything, well, particularly what you're helping me with, other sources that we've got, I have no doubt that we'll fill that auditorium.
Oh, absolutely.
That will fill that auditorium. That's my plan.
And I thoroughly recommend it, people, for the 3 days and at the zoo. And I think you always explain beautifully why you do these things at the zoo, because I, at first glance it might seem a bit odd for somebody like you to do this at the zoo, but you explained it last time, so I'd ask you to do it again.
Look, I'm the first to explain, because even when we're at the workshops, I always say, look, I suppose you are wondering why we're running these events at the zoos. And the reason why I run them at the zoos is because conservation is something I'm quite passionate about, and the saving of the animals that we have left on this planet is essential. We, as you know, we lose, well, the last count, these stats are probably out of date now, which is horrific, but we lose at least 135 species of animal or bird or insect a day, and that's a hell of a lot. So I run my events at the zoos because once upon a time, as you know, the zoos were a place of entertainment. People would go and laugh at the funny monkey, or, a great way to fill in an afternoon.
Yeah.
everything's changed.
Mm.
Zoos they are a place of entertainment. But they are still seen that way by the public or people who aren't, fully aware. And it's important that we break that pattern because they are now places of conservation and education.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that man has contributed largely to the decimation of, the environment and natural habitat of most of the animals that we now see in the zoos. And the zoos are the only place in the world where these animals exist.
Mm.
So, with the help of the way the zoos team up, and they all, they're all one now. They all work together and they're working very hard to not only encourage people to preserve the environment that is left for these animals, but they're breeding them back up, so they're not going to be wiped out. They're not going to be lost to us forever. And animals that are on the verge in the wild, the zoos offer sanctuary to those animals until they're bred up to a safe number where they can often be released back into their natural environment, which is just awesome.
You've got to support that.
Well, and you have to. You do.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. In Sydney, there's a lot of beautiful zoos in the world. They're now called zoological, gardens. They're not really so much parks anymore. They're absolutely stunning. Like the Melbourne Zoo and the Sydney Zoo, they're two of the world's leading zoos. And I'm proud to say that I run my seminars there.
And support their breeding programs and...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to help break that old view of zoos that they're, it's a shame that they'll be locked up. Well, if it wasn't for zoos, half those animals would not be in existence anymore at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And
I still would love to see them gone, because it would be great if we could live in a world that didn't need them anymore. But,
we're getting there.
We are. I believe we are.
We're getting there. Well, there's actually something I wanted to talk to you about, and I've been jotting it down for the last couple of weeks, and I don't know if you've been following it, but I thought, when I have Scott, I'm going to ask him about that. Have you been following the bee colony disruptions and the diebacks?
Yes, I have.
What's your concerns, theories, and opinions on that?
Well, apparently they may have discovered the reason, but it's when I first heard that, I thought that's very interesting, because the bees, to me, they're the keepers of they're like the keepers of the universal tapestry, if you like. They represent everything that we hold dear as far as wealth and abundance goes.
Mm-hmm.
If you research the history or the spiritual history of the bee, the honeycomb, it's been likened to the cosmology of the universe, the way it all slots together, and how everything supports the next thing in line. The perfect what's that word? Geomancy, geometry of it all. Geometry, that's the word. The way it all slots together, it is a sacred symbol. It's a sacred image. The bee, she's been likened to the great goddess herself, the mother goddess. She's been associated with the honey is associated with healing. If you look back through Egyptian mythology or Egyptian history, the honey was one of the main ingredients in the embalming fluids that they used to preserve their passed over pharaohs.
Mm-hmm.
The bee. Anyway, look, it's an animal that's associated with abundance and prosperity and wealth and unity and teamwork and strength and healing and all sorts of different things that we are slowly but surely decimating through our desire to have and want and greed associated with money and wealth. And the more we want and the more we take and the more we demand and the more we expect, and the more we do that without thought of giving back or the consequences of our actions, the more that universal tapestry frays at the edges.
Mm-hmm.
So when I heard that the bees were leaving, if you like, or dropping out of this plane, and goodness only knows where they were heading, but when I heard the hives were collapsing, I just thought, well, it makes perfect sense in lots of ways, because we are very much... we're focused primarily on material gain and monetary gain. And
I agree with you.
Who has the most oil and who has the most wealth and who has the biggest cars and the biggest houses.
Well, I thought it was kind of like I found it very interesting. The last article I read, which was about 10 days ago, the latest research showed that anybody with natural hives was not experiencing this. Like if you've got a hive in your backyard or a hive in your park, this was not a problem. This was all the commercial hives.
Right. That's right, because it's that you take that on a global level and you take it to, you know, into all the industry and everything that's happening. But if you look at the little people in the backyard who are striving to make good in their own space, who are working in harmony with their garden perhaps, or you know, living in a self-sustaining way, of course they're working in harmony with the earth, they're working in harmony with the bees.
And I discovered like some appalling things, like, you know, like they were saying, I don't remember the exact specifications, but one hive would support, say, you know, 2 kilometres of bees, but the commercial bee farming, and I'm not picking on, you know, these people have to eat and feed their kids as well, I understand, and perhaps a lot of it might have been ignorance, but if you stack 40 hives up together in like a, you know, a small area, you know, it's just not what's done naturally. And also they were feeding them corn syrup instead of honey and all this. And to me, I can understand why the bee said, you know what, I'm out of here. And on a deeper level, I also felt it might have been a bit of a model that, and also a bit of what's rising to the surface now. I don't know about you, but I'm finding a lot more people saying, why the hell am I working 60 hours a week?
That's right.
You know, why am I doing this?
Yeah, that's the point I was trying. I'm not at all saying that it's something that the beekeepers are doing wrong. I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. I'm talking about us all. You know,
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. People are starting to question. They're starting to look at the system. And they're starting to think, I don't like the way this is happening. And it's almost like they're starting to wake up to what they've allowed to happen around them. Like they're starting to think, well, you know, I don't want to play this game anymore. I don't want to be part of this system anymore. So it is starting to, but it's also the corporations that sort of run everything. You know, it is, you know, I don't want to say which particular corporations, but there's a lot of, you know, there's
the global corporate.
Only a handful of people really running the whole planet.
Oh yeah.
And it's what they're doing and what they're expecting everyone to do so they can maintain that power and control. That's what I'm talking about.
And I kind of liked it that, to me, it was like, you know, these very established hives and these booming, like, hives. It's like all the bees said, I'm out of here, and just abandoned it.
That's right.
And I thought, awesome!
There was no disease, there was no other contributing factor found. There was nothing found when they did little teeny weeny autopsies on them. Yeah. And there was nothing there to give reason as to why they were. Some of them just died too. They was not just leaving; they were also dying. The ones that didn't leave died. They found there were bodies and everything everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, but not at all surprising at the same time.
Bit of modelling going on there, I think, saying, look, just leave it all behind, just abandon it. You know,
just move on.
Move on.
Let's grow. Let's expand. Let's join forces instead of being stuck as like one of those little mice in one of those wheels running really hard and not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Let's get off the wheel and see where our legs can actually take us.
That's I knew you'd be following that. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about your animal dreaming oracle cards, because they're relatively new, aren't they?
Well, they were released probably about 2 months ago, officially. They are, there's 45 cards in the deck. An oracle is different to a tarot in that tarot has like a story. There's a sequence. Did I say journey? It's a journey that of man from his innocence as a child right through to his death, if you like. Well, it is that, and the obstacles he may find along the way. Each of the cards talks about, you know, different aspects of that journey. Oracle cards they're based on an ancient practice of, just say you, Leah, wanted to know how just say you had a question. You lived in a tribal situation. You go to your elder and you sit with them, and they may or may not, depending on the culture, they may pull out a little pouch that has, some bones in it or some claws, give those a bit of a shake and tip them out, and depending on how they fell and the patterns that they made, they would divine the answer? Well, the cards are based on that philosophy. So an oracle is like a form of divination that is, it appears hazard or haphazard or random, and depending on what cards are pulled, you're able to, they will answer your question. I mean, there's a couple of spreads in the book that that you can consult for specific reasons, and the animals are depicted, instead of using claws and bones, you've got beautiful illustrations by a friend of mine who I'm very proud to have had work on the cards with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so there's 45 animals depicted, and there's a little booklet that goes with them, and they're all Australian. That's what I'm very proud about. Very, very proud of that.
Yeah.
There's a few animal decks on the market, but this one's all Australian, just depicting our animals, not the traditional wolves or there's eagle in it, but no wolves or buffaloes and that's really refreshing from where I stand.
Oh, absolutely.
The best bit?
What?
They, a bit of boasting. There's our distributor Brumby. They have a newsletter that goes out, and there's a bestseller list for each month, and they've got about 30,000 titles in their catalogue.
Mm-hmm.
So the top 20, to get into that top 20 is huge, right? They came out, so the very first month, they'd only really been out to the public for a week. They were number 19.
Wow.
The first week.
Yeah.
And last month, we haven't had this month's newsletter yet, they were number 5.
Wow.
On the bestseller list.
That's awesome.
Japan. They've gone into Japan, they've gone into the States, they're in Europe. It's fantastic.
It is. Well done. Well done, my friend.
I'm very, very proud of them.
You should be. And I know that another thing you're very passionate about is the Australian animals. And when I attended your workshop, it's not like you dismiss the bears or the more common things people associate with animal totems and that. But what you ask people to do is, in this side of the world, in this hemisphere, is associate. If you see a possum here, it probably represents, what would a possum represent in the other side of the world, Scott? I don't know. That's your job.
Yeah.
But
well, see, people tend to look. They don't see that. A lot of people. Well, we've been trained, haven't we, by what's available on the market, to think that if you follow in inverted commas shamanic path or an animist path, that you've got, and that you do. If you do work with animals, or you do have totems or power animals, that most of us assume that you have to have wolves or moose or the traditional North American animals, but that's what the cards. That's why I did the cards, put them out, because I wanted people to understand that our animals have supported our people, our indigenous people, since the dream time, and that our animals are rich with knowledge and rich with power. And if you are drawn to certain animals from, say, North America, there's a huge chance that here in Australia we have an animal with similar, not the same, but similar medicine. So, for example, your
possum.
The average person might say that they've got a bear as their totem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not that koalas are bears. I'm not saying that the old koala bear, but our koala, we're not bears at all, but our koala has a similar medicine, because bears are known to go into a cave and hibernate, and during that time their medicine is realised, which is contemplation or meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Our koala sleeps 18 hours a day, and his medicine is very similar, because he also talks about meditation and contemplation. I call it the journey, because he journeys between the worlds while he's in that state, because he's sort of drugged to the eyeballs on the he's not really, but the eucalyptus leaves that he eats are quite poisonous to everyone else, so his body has to process that, and so he goes, they have a sophoretic effect on him. They sort of slip him into a bit of a trance, so his body can process those toxins. And so, see what I mean? So if you have the bear, you might want to look at our koala.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a fascination for the buffalo in North America, well, our grey kangaroo has a very similar medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's brilliant that if people just start to look spiritually at our animals, they'll find a wealth of knowledge there. The same with the other cultures too, Europe and South Africa or North Africa Africa, Egypt, like that Middle East. Those animals are rich with knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And, it makes perfect sense to me because, like, what does a bear do? It goes into a cave and, what do they call it?
The medicine.
Yeah, and, the koala does the same thing. It's just, and at least our animals here are more accessible.
Well, they're there.
Yeah.
And we've been raised with them. Like we know what the platypus looks like, whereas a lot of people might not know what the otter looks like. So there's something, if you look at the animals we have, you'll see what their medicine is just by looking at them and watching them, which we've been doing since we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
We are very lucky to have these animals, but we forget about them. We fail to consider them as being spiritual teachers.
It would make me
well,
wonder...
when I say we don't all do that.
No, yeah.
We don't all do that, but you ask someone what their totem is, 9 times out of 10 they'll say wolf or bear or eagle,
And you're saying, no, it's not.
Well, they may have those animals. I mean, I have animals that I work with. I've got 13 that I work with.
Wow.
And they're from all over the world. But I also have my Australian ones because this is where I was born. I have a strong connection to quite a lot of our animals here. I'm lucky because my prime totem is the barn owl, which is found on all continents. So it doesn't matter where I go, she's going to be there with me.
Talking of birds, another thing that you made me get passionate about and capture my interest, and I was wanting a bit of a progress report on the West Australian Raptors Centre, who I know you...
oh, yes.
I just
you
love
and,
him.
Amanda. Yeah. They're brilliant people. I was lucky enough to meet them a little while back, and they... So my phone's going flat. I hope you can ignore that beeping sound. It just makes the interview more interesting, more personal, doesn't it?
It does.
Typical. But, I met them 2 years ago. Well, when I say I met them 2 years ago, I first spoke to them 2 years ago. I met them officially last year. Got to meet... Oh, how embarrassing. Got to meet their beautiful birds, their eagle and their barn owl and their barking owl and their little Nanking kestrel. And it's like... I was transformed that day. I have not cried so much as I did that day. It was just sheer bliss meeting Ellen the barn owl. Absolutely brilliant people.
Because that seems to be a keen... Because I know when I did the Perth workshop or the Perth Zoo thing, they you brought those guys in and we learned a lot.
Did.
And you're going to be doing this again in Sydney, are you? Visiting the Raptor section there?
Well, look, there's a bird flight show that is shown at the Taronga Zoo, and it's on a weekday, and we're going down to see to watch that, and that's when Billy will be offering us techniques to actually communicate with those animals. But we'll, so they're free flight, and they'll be, we've got that here at Hillsville Sanctuary in Victoria as well, which is brilliant. They fly them over your head and talk about them from a, mainstream point of view, talking about their wingspan and their ability to carry prey and hunting techniques and, things like that. But they're also bringing in to the auditorium some birds, which will be fantastic, and I'm fingers crossed they'll be bringing in a barn owl at least. That'll be absolutely awesome.
So you think this is an important part of your...
of course.
Yeah, because it seems to be a common thread in all your workshops that you want to introduce the raptors and that to us.
Well, you see, apart from the symbolic qualities, in WA, for example, the eagle, I don't think, I might be wrong, so I hope no one jumps down my throat, but as far as I know, they're not protected, the eagles there. And to me, that's just heartbreaking. They still are blamed for killing lambs and, things like that, which they may or may not do, but it's essential for me to bring those raptorial birds, or at least the medicine of those birds, into the seminars, because in most cultures, the eagle, for example, is the embodiment of spirit, or the creator spirit, or God. It's God himself.
Right.
So this is, here we are, we're doing this work in honour of Mother Earth to help by listening to what she actually wants us to do, because the animals are the voice of Mother Earth, I believe. We call her Mother Earth. That must mean we're her kids, and she speaks to us symbolically through the animals. So we're here to reconnect to her, to help her, to support her. In doing so, we're also healing ourselves and offering us techniques to heal our family and our friends and the greater community. But we're also doing this work to remember the Creator Spirit and those in spirit and the spirit that runs through all things. And the eagle is the embodiment of that very essence, because they fly closest to the sun, and because of that, and they're able to, well, while they're flying, they're this little, you watch. Have you ever seen an eagle when they're just a dot in the sky and it's very hard to see them against the glare of the sun? Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
They are just magnificent. I'm spellbound when I watch them. But the beauty is, though, while they're up there, just a little tiny dot, they can see you with great clarity. Not only can they see you, though, Leah, they can see every stitch in your jumper.
Wow.
They can see your hair, each single strand. They can see a rabbit running across the ground. They can see a mouse in the field. And because of that amazing eyesight they have, all the cultures that have ever studied the owl and brought their medicine into their spiritual culture have connected them to the Creator Spirit, watching down from his heavenly kingdom and protecting us.
Right, yeah.
So that's essential that we... And the sea eagle, by the way, is, in my book, the goddess, because you can't have a god without a goddess,
No.
in my view. But anyway, so the eagle is the Creator Spirit. The hawk is the messenger of the Creator Spirit. And in some teachings, you could say that it's similar to God and then the angels. A lot of people chat to angels and ask them to pass messages to God. Well, people who work with eagle and hawk, it's very, very similar setup. So it's very important that people understand that it's like a hierarchy, if you like. And during the day, we watched and protected, and those messages are passed to spirit by the hawk. And during the night, when the eagle is asleep, the owl comes out and does it for us. So we're being watched and protected 24 hours a day.
No wonder they're an important part of your teachings and your course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, you're going to be making a very special celebrity appearance on the Kerry Ann Show.
Yes, I am.
If people want to tune in, do you know when that is?
August the 23rd, it's a Thursday.
23rd. So tune in to Kerry Ann on the 23rd of August, and you'll be able to see Scott there. And are you going to bring an animal? Are you allowed to do that? Or?
Look, we're trying to source one at the moment. I approached the zoo, but because they've got some huge thing they're involved with that week.
Right.
The Opera House there, or their PR people are tied up with that. So we're trying to source. We're trying to source something like a raptorial rescue centre or something that maybe be able to help. But we've got our fingers crossed. But that would be awesome. But Kerry is bringing in her dog. So we'll be talking about the symbolic qualities of that dog and why she would have a dog like that in her life. I've not met him yet, so I can't comment on what sort he is. But talking about the symbolic qualities of that animal and what that animal has to teach her. So we'll be talking about that.
Excellent. So
Of course.
So, because, again, I wanted to make the point at the beginning, so I'll make it now, that a lot of people think of animal communication. They think you do what Billy Dean does. You can do that, but that's not what you're about, is it?
No.
No.
I mean, everyone can talk to their animals if they allow... We can all communicate with animals because they're sentient beings just like us. They just use a different frequency. And they're on one frequency, we're on another frequency, and it's the gap in between the frequencies. They don't meet like you would think. So it's that gap that prevents us from really hearing clearly what our animals are saying.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that, but that's not my strength. My strength is I look to the animals as being like symbols, and each of those animals symbolically carries a message. And when you start to put the animals together in a line or a sequence, or they offer guidance that way. I see them as being far more advanced than we are. I see them as being like our teachers, our healers. So I think chatting to your animals is very, very important, and getting to know your animals on that level is very important, because it just cuts out a whole heap of nonsense. You don't have to take them to vets anymore if they tell you themselves what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
But I see them on a different level. I see them as being the voice of Mother Earth, essentially, and they all symbolically mean different things, and if we just look to them, like with Carrie Ann, for example, I'll be able to explain to... Like, I did a reading recently for Susie Wilkes. I don't know if you know her. She was on Changing Room. She's a Channel 9 personality.
Yes.
She brought her 2 dogs into the studio at 3AW, and I did a reading for her based on those 2 dogs. And like I won't go into detail, but the breed of the dog, the colours of the dog, how the dogs were brought into the room. Like one was carried, and one sort of very closely followed at her heel with a lead that was dragging behind it, and it snapped at everyone who came too close. That one used to belong to her mum, and the other one was hers. And so based on that, I read for her and talked to her about her entire life.
About the medicine involved, yeah.
And the symbology of those dogs and why the original intent behind breeding those dogs, and so the traditional purpose, like their role, if you like, and just the body language and the colour and it's just all, to me, that, and intuitively that just formed a story in my head, and I just spoke about it.
Well, it's what comes natural to you is what you try and teach to us. And I must say, people, he's spot on, because the reading he did for me was, good 12, 15 months ago now, about my rabbits and why I'm so allergic to them. And it made absolute, complete sense, And that was one of those interesting, like you were talking about, allergies and why you don't like some animals and that type of thing. And a situation I hadn't even considered, but it was spot on. So,
well, see, we all think that my sister grew up allergic to guinea pigs, of all things.
Guinea pigs?
But I know lots of people who are allergic to cats, or allergic to horses, some people are allergic to a lot of different animals. And what we talked about was the fact that you probably aren't allergic to the animal at all, but your reaction is more to what the rabbit represents, and your desire never to have to handle or go near what the rabbit's medicine actually is. Like, for example, people who are afraid of or allergic to cats quite often have got healing on a very, very personal level, sometimes a sexual level, that they have difficulty confronting, and because of the consequence of speaking up about their past or their experiences, and so they target the animal that carries the wisdom to unlock those fears or those allergies. Sorry, it's not the animal they're allergic to at all. It's the
medicine that the animal. Yeah.
And so, with animals that we're afraid of, it's just a fear of addressing the key issue. Like people are afraid of snakes, they're usually afraid of healing, and people who are allergic to snakes have got to the point where they're like, I'm not going anywhere near that, and they push it away because it makes them ill.
Now, tell us about, you re-released Animal Dreaming?
The book,
yes. You've re-released that one.
Well, it's coming out at the end of this month in time for the course.
Right.
That was my very, very first book.
Yes.
And it started off as a list. Someone asked me, this one person particularly would ask me all the time, so what does koala mean, or what does kingfisher mean, or what does goanna mean? And so I just tell them. And then she said, look, do you reckon you could just write a list of the top 20 Australian animals, and just so I don't have to keep asking? I said, sure. So I did. And that list grew to 30, and then it grew to 40. And then I thought, So I went back and I fleshed out the points that I'd made, and eventually I had a book.
It's a very good book too.
205 animals. So I didn't know what I was doing, and the original copy, the original issue wasn't written all that well, because I hadn't even bothered to edit it. I just wrote it and was so excited I just sent it straight off to my web guy who designed it, laid it all out for me, and sent it to a printer, and it came back as a book. And then 2,000 prints, a print run, sold them all. Did another print run. I had it edited properly, I thought it had been done properly. Still riddled with mistakes.
He is a Virgo, though, I will remind people.
Yes, I am a Virgo.
He's a bit anal, a little bit anal.
Yes. Shut up there. Anyway, it sold all those.
Yeah.
And then another 2,000 that was. And then, so when Tony Carmine Salerno agreed to publish my cards, I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
I said, so would you be interested in looking at the book? The original book that I'd always intended to have released alongside it as a, companion.
Right, yeah,
guide,
yep.
spiritual field guide, if you like, that
Yep.
accompanied the cards. And he said, sure. So I have completely reworked it. It's been expanded quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The animals are all still the same. The cover's all changed. It's just beautiful. It has koalas on the cover now.
It is beautiful, yeah.
I'm very proud of it. And, yeah, so that'll be released the end of this month. It'll be launched at the 3-day course.
Yeah.
And if people want to see the cover, it's on the website. I can't believe that it's here forever now, because I'd never really known what was going to become of it, because when I went to New Holland with Animal Messenger, they said that animal dreaming was too Australian and they rejected it. And they said, well, if you were to make it more global, we'll consider it. So I had to rewrite. I wrote Animal Messenger for them, and it incorporated 30 or so of the Australian animals, but I didn't like the idea of animal dreaming being lost to us forever. So when Tony agreed to publish it for me, I was blown away.
Excellent. And done the world a favour.
I think so.
Absolutely. And Scott's webpage is animaldreaming.com.
Yep.
And you can get up there and you can secure yourself a seat for Scott's 3-day certified course in animal dreaming at the Taronga Park Zoo, August 31st to September the 2nd. You can book yourself in for a drum making workshop. You can book yourself in for a reading. You can purchase Scott's books, cards and CD. You can see where he is appearing. You can read his articles. It's packed, this website. Packed. You go there, it's prepared to spend 2 hours, because there's lots and lots of fabulous information up there. And you're still writing and contributing to your various magazines, I would imagine?
I still, on occasion, I'm with Nova magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very proud to be associated with them. They are actually the prime sponsors of the 3-day course.
Yep.
And alongside yourself, I tell everyone you're a supporter of the course, which I'm grateful for. But Nova is my prime sponsor.
Yeah.
Nova magazine, which is a Perth magazine, which I'm got to pump them.
Yeah.
And Spheres magazine, I write for them as well. Spheres, the spirit guide, I write for them on a regular basis. So I've got articles often in them. They're a great magazine as well.
It's been an absolute pleasure as usual having you on Ghost Radio, and I urge everybody to get along to the 3-day course if you can. It will change your life. I don't think that's I'm not carrying on with that. It really will. In this time and place, what Scott's message is and how he's delivering it is so important. And if we can move away, like the bees, from materialism, corporate, yuckness, and back into the basic level of the medicine that Scott's talking about, it will do so much for the world as a whole, I think. So thank you for doing all that you do and teaching all that you teach to everybody, and you do it so well. And I urge everybody to get along and be a part of it if they can. If you can't get to the course, get a book or something and see what this man is talking about. It's very important.
At least register your name on the database so we can keep in touch that way. You can be kept up to date with things that are happening. And if it's not my stuff, I promote other people's work through mine. So there's bound to be someone or something that appeals.
Actually, you're very good at that. No ego involved there. If you like something, you promote them, don't you?
Well, you have to, Leah, because in this industry...
But a lot of people don't, Scott, and I like the fact that you do.
They're afraid to, Leah, because they're afraid they're going to miss out, or they're going to lose a client, or they're going to not have that person in their workshop, but they're going to go to someone else's. And I say, I don't care where people go as long as they find something.
That's right.
My uncle was a Anglican minister,
mm-hmm.
and he said something to me once. He didn't necessarily believe what I believe, but he said, if it brings you peace, that's good.
Yeah,
and so I say, if I don't want people to only come to my site. I want them to come to my site for a reason. If it's to find what I have to offer, that's brilliant, and I'm rapt. But if they come to my site and find your site, or they come to my site and find Lucy's or Maria's, my dear friends,
mm-hmm.
or Ronnie Burns in Tassie, that's why they've come to my site, and I'm honoured to think that they have found that source through mine. I don't care how they find enlightenment or peace or happiness as long as they do.
Gotta love that.
Oh,
Scott Alexander King, my friends, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's Underworld for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe and blessings to you all.
You've been listening to Australia's own Underworld show with host Leah Ramses. The Underworld show is produced in Perth, Western Australia by iProdigy Communications exclusively for Ghost Radio Australia and the Ghost Radio Network. Tune in every Sunday at 8 p.m. Perth time to hear fascinating guests and topics such as the one you just listened to. For more information on upcoming guests, events, and breaking news, visit www.underworldshow.com or www.ghostradio.com.au.